I found a relatively rare piece of video equipment from 1985. I think it was 85. That was listed as not functional, so I'm going to have to get it going. I don't know how bad it is. Did I get ripped off, or did I score a good one? Let's check it out. Check this unit out. This is an EVA300, which was a Video 8 home deck. Not a high 8, just a regular Video 8. And this one here, front loader, had a tuner and everything built in. And I believe it had 2 recording speeds, SP and LP. Yeah, it had 2 recording speeds. Bunch of inputs and outputs on the back, namely cable in, converter out, converter in, and RF out. Video in and video out. Control S in. And this funky looking blue connector. Now you know whenever Sony does anything in blue, it means it's for something special. In this case, it's for the PCM processor. The PCM EV10U, which the manual is in French. Actually, this manual is in French too. Why was I given a manual in French? Well, we'll throw those away because I don't read French. But I do have the PCM EV10 digital processor that goes with this machine. Think of it like the Beta Hi-Fi processor for the Beta Hi-Fi ready machines. What this does is it adds digital audio that you can dub after the fact, or you can use it as an audio recorder and record digital audio, although it's not as good a quality as a full PCM deck, because I believe it was 8-bit, I believe, on this, with 2-to-1 compression. They still, and 32 kilohertz sample. So it recorded like a good FM broadcast up to about 15 kilohertz, if I remember correctly, for the 8mm standard. I could be wrong, but I get the manual here. Only, unfortunately, the specifications aren't in English, but we can probably figure it out. So here's the specifications that we can read. Format: audio PCM video 8mm. Number of audio channels 2. Quantization frequency 31.5 kilohertz, and its quantization nonlinear 8 bits. So the frequency response is 20 to 15 kilohertz with 88 dB, and the wound flutter is less than 0.005%. Or is that distortion? Can't read it all. That might be distortion. Anyway, that's the specs for the unit. So it's 8-bit, like all the 8mm decks use. This doesn't work. I was told it doesn't work. So before I even load up a tape, we're going to pop it apart and do a visual. No, this is not a machine coming in for service either. This is my deck. I bought this. Hope I didn't waste my money on it. Hope I can get it going. I was told that it does not play back, and therefore it probably doesn't record either. But I thought this was kind of cool, this machine, because this was out before High 8, and it has PCM audio, because 8mm had PCM audio as part of the standard right from day one. In fact, 8mm had mono AFM audio and PCM digital stereo. The AFM stereo was added as an afterthought on more recent machines. So here's the mechanism on this. And this looks a little different than what most people are used to seeing for 8mm. And that's one of the reasons I wanted to grab this, is because, well, as you can see, it doesn't look like your conventional 8mm. It's not an M loading system, it's a U loading system, very much like Beta and like 3/4 inch. In fact, this looks exactly like the first generation 3/4 and Beta machines. 8mm used a single loading arm to pull the tape out. and threaded it. So I'm going to plug it in, we're going to load a tape up, and just watch what it does. This was a local find, and it probably was sold by the shop that I work for. Some black tape in there. Wonder what that's for. Anyway, turn it on. It lights up, and when I push the eject button, the tape compartment should open, which it does. The tape goes in to a slot on the front, kind of like the old DAT machines, and then you close the lid. And when you close the lid, it pushes the tape in and lowers it down. So it's a full mechanical. It doesn't use a motor to drop it down. Oh no, this one here, you push it down and it closes down, and then the system threads just like that. I'll show you guys that again in a close-up. So if I hit eject, now that is how a real VCR loads a tape. I think this mechanism is so cool, and that's one of the reasons I wanted this one here, was because even though I don't really have a need for an 8mm deck, high 8 would be great, but this is just the threading mechanism on this. It's just so cool to watch. Cool. Now I'm going to try playing a tape and see whether I get a picture. I'm sure this is going to need capacitors like crazy. I got a no picture whatsoever, just snow. So I'm going to grab my cleaning tape and just run my cleaning tape through and just see whether the heads are just contaminated. The Sony cleaning cassette. I'll load this and let it run for 10 seconds or so. Don't want to run this too much because it will wear the heads down. And I can't see the heads being worn out on a machine like this because I doubt that it had a lot of use. Oh man, it could be wrong. It could have been used every day. But typically these machines weren't used a lot. I still have no picture. So I guess the first thing I'm going to check on this is we'll check the preamp. Preamp, I believe, just pops out on this. I've never taken one of these ones apart, or not in a long time, but I think the preamp just lifts out on this, and it unplugs. I might have to pull the bottom off it to unplug it, but we'll see if there's enough slack on here. We'll check the preamp and see whether there's any caps in here that are bad, because I can't see it being the heads. If they're not dirty, then I'm thinking a problem in the preamp. Not a lot of room to move anything on here, is there? Head wires, I guess I gotta try to get the preamp apart so that I can unplug it. It's not very long, that's the problem. The wires themselves are very short. Shield cover off, I should be able to unplug the head from the preamp. No, there are no surface mounted caps in here, but there are regular caps. Unplug the head. heads. Okay, so there's the preamp out. If we look at the caps on the board, they're all looking to be okay. I don't see any of the ESRs really high. These are all small caps, like 1 microfarad, 22 microfarads, etc. And you know, they're all really low. So no bad caps on the preamp. It could be the head's worn out. I hope not, because finding one of these might not be. Although it might not be hard though, because this is all the 8mm cameras of the day use the same type of head. And I've probably got one kicking around here that has this head on it. .2, right? These are all looking fine. No issue with any of these caps. They're there. See, these are all fine. Flying erase driver. This is for the flying erase heads here. It's got flying erase on it. So I don't think we've got a problem with the preamp. I mean, it could be, but it doesn't. Certainly, it's nothing obvious that is sticking out now. I was thinking maybe some bad caps, because of course we know how wonderful they've all been, but this one here doesn't have any surface mount, so the ones that give us all the headaches are not present on this model. Plug the flying erase head back in and the other heads, and we'll just plug this back together and see what it does again. I'm not getting any RF coming off the heads when I scoped it. So it could be a problem. It could be a worn head, although the head doesn't seem like it's worn. I can feel it. Like the chips aren't broken or anything. They're there, and they don't appear to feel worn down. So this has got a rotary transformer problem, but that never happens. Or very seldom happens. I shouldn't say it never happens, because I've had rotary transformers that have gone bad before. It's just not a real common failure. So this just sits in place. Snap the shield back on properly here. I do have a camera. I believe this is the same head that's on this one that's on here. I think it's the same. If I pull the head stabilizer off the top, which is just a little disc that is screwed down, we can see the head drum itself. Pretty sure that's the same head drum that the other one uses. If it's worn, should have the entire head drum. Actually, this one should be exactly the same. Pretty sure this one's exactly the same.
No, it's not.
As the other one. Of course, I don't know what shape these heads are in, but I'm sure that they're okay, because it's a capacitor issue on this camera.
The camera's a 2-head and this deck is a 3-head. So they're not identical. But it might work.
Sure looks like a bad head, though. Watch what happens when I get my hand anywhere near the top of the head drum. You'll see the interference from the plasma. See the interference from the plasma? As I bring my finger just near the head drum, I'm not touching it, but I'm just bringing it near, and I'm getting those lines from the plasma screen. So I have a sneaking suspicion that the head itself is not working. It's either completely clogged or it's worn right out. course, I can swap the head pretty quick on this. It's only held in place by a couple solder connections. So maybe we'll do that. Maybe we'll swap the head on this and just see whether it is the head that's bad. Because no cleaning has done anything other than nothing. I mean, if it was clogged up, my fingernail on there should have cleared that off. It is entirely possible that it's got tons and tons and tons of hours, and it's just worn down to nothing.
More likely, someone tried to clean it with a Q-tip or something else and broke the heads off.
Let's swap the head drum. So here's the donor. We're going to use some solder wick to suck up the solder off of the little circuit board here. The head connections here are marked with the arrows. Right, the other ones go down to the head itself, but these are the ones that have to be undone. There's 3 of them, and then it's just a matter of removing the screws and pulling the head. Now, I don't have a head puller. There was actually a special tool that they would supply when you purchase the new head drum. There was a special tool that you put on top, and you screwed it down. It was just a little piece of bent metal. And you screwed it down over here, and it was just a little metal that was shaped like had a little bit of almost like a little, looked like a little top hat. And you put one screw down in the middle, and you attached it onto these 2 screws, and then you put one down in the middle, and what it did was it provided equal torque to lift the head off. It was a head puller. I don't have a head puller, so I have to do it a little bit differently, but it's not difficult to do. I should have one done. Make sure that they're completely disconnected. And I'll get to the next one, the flying arrays. I'll pull the donor head off first, and then we'll pull the other one off and swap it over. And you guys can see the procedure to do these old machines, because they were a little different than the newer 8mm ones. They just put the head, it was a plug-on head. You just undid a couple of screws and just pulled the entire unit off and it plugged in. These older ones were soldered down. And the thing with 8mm is they work, and then they just die. Like I've had my BVS 7000, the head went out on, and it was fine, and then like I played a 2-hour tape through it, and by the end of the tape it was shot. I mean, they go like that. They just keep putting out a signal, and then one day they just, all over the course of an hour or two, they go from perfect to nothing. That was a characteristic of 8mm. Is they just keep working, and then one day they just stop. So we're just going to make sure that the pins are unsoldered here, all the way around. I don't want anything to stick when I remove it. Okay, so now it's free. So here's how we go about removing these heads. We're going to take the screws out. Probably don't need the camera quite so close. We're going to put them in over here and just tighten them down to the point where they just make contact with the lower part of the drum. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to turn them each about a half turn and then go to the other side. And what this will do is this will rock the drum back and forth a bit. Let's go open this up just so I've got room. Okay, so we're going to do that, and then do that, and then do this, and just do this back and forth a few times, and this will loosen the drum so that the drum will pop off. By the time I get the screws all the way down, the head drum should just lift off. now I should just be able to lift it just like that. And there's the head drum. Alright, I'm going to put this away for safekeeping. We're going to remove the head drum from the other machine and refit it with this one. So here's the other machine. We'll unsolder the wires again, just like it. I believe they're the same. I'm pretty sure it's the same head on this thing. Let me just take a closer look. Yeah, pattern's the same. Flying erase, 2-channel, or B and A. Yeah, and then this one's a vacant one, I think.
Actually, it's not. One's a 4-head and the other's a 3. That's counting the flying
It's
erase.
a 4-head machine. It was only a 2-head.
It's a 3-head plus flying erase, and the other one's a 2-head plus flying erase.
EH3 is this one. Pretty sure it's the same head. This one might have had a 3rd head for freeze frame on it, but that's okay. It'll work fine. It just won't have freeze frame. But let me get this one unsoldered. Because Sony did have some 3-head machines for 8mm, just like they did for Beta. But we can get by with the 2-head if it's the head drum that's bad. And it's certainly looking like that's what it is. So let me just get this unsoldered. We'll swap it out and see what happens.
I'm going to have to cut the extra pins coming up from below from the rotary transformer, because the aluminum head drum will only have 3 holes in it for the 3 heads, the 2 video heads plus flying erase. And this one has an extra hole, so the pins coming up from below are going to have to be cut off flush, otherwise it's not going to fit.
Okay, this one has hex keys to hold it in place. What did I do with my little Allen key? I just had it sitting here a minute ago. Where did it go? Alright. Remove the head drum. Same way as before. And we can use these ones to thread this down as well. Okay, flying erase is pointing right towards this post here. So we'll just screw these down and lift the head off, just like before. Oops. I'm in a love-hate relationship with this stupid light because it's nice and bright. The problem is it causes so many shadows when I'm working. It just makes it really kind of hard to see under. Okay, so the head drum should just lift off, just like that. And the other one will pop back on. I remove the screws that I put in here to lift it off. And I could attach it with these screws, by the way. They're the same thread. So I could either use the Allen keys or or these ones, doesn't really matter. Okay, my flying erase head was facing towards me, so there's the flying erase head there. That will go on just like this. Just gonna line it up and the holes should just pop straight through.
No, they won't, because this upper drum doesn't have that extra hole for the extra pins. So it's not going to drop until I clip that off.
Pins are all the same.
Which means that it will never work with a 3-head head if I get it. Well, I could probably reattach the wires, but we're never going to get a 3-head drum for this. Don't kid yourself. Get this thing working for playing tapes. Who gives a crap about freeze frame as long as it plays, right? Because the head parts of this are obsolete. So I'm never going to find the correct head. I just hope like hell that I'm going to get this one running. I don't know whether it will at this point. I'm pretty confident that it is going to work, but I've never done it. I've put a 3-head on a 2-head beta. I just did that the other day. But this is a 2-head going into where a 3-head used to be. It should work. We'll find out pretty quick, though. I clipped the leads off camera. That's why it fits now. But I'm just telling you, I did clip them off.
One thing's for certain, this is being a 2-head versus a 3-head. I'm going to lose functionality of the special effects like slow-mo, and I don't care about that, really. All you really care about is, will it play? Right? Will it play the tapes? That's all that really matters, is if it'll play. So I gotta screw down the head. I decided to fasten it with the other screws, just for no specific reason. I just decided to do it. Easier to deal with. I'm gonna reconnect it and see if I get any type of an image at all out of this one. That'll at least tell me if the head was bad. Alright, let's see what happens. Alright, let's load up a tape and see whether I get a picture. Or get anything other than snow. Oh, what do you know? I have a picture. I don't have a great picture. But at least we know what the problem was. It was the head that was bad. Damn! The guy sold me a deck with a broken head. Let's take a close look at the old head. I think the heads are broken. That with my big magnifiers, that looks on camera like that head is snapped. Oh, it is. No wonder there was no signal. The heads were broken. Oh, SOB sold me a machine with broken heads. Damn. Well, at least I got one that's sort of working. I don't know if this is going to work proper or not because it's not the right head. And getting the right one for this would be an impossible task, but we'll see if we can get it to work better than it is. At least it's playing something now. Okay, after a few adjustments, it's looking pretty good. I'm just working on the alignment now. Got my scope hooked up. I'll show you the alignment I've got off this substitute head. It's not bad. I'm going to try and get it perfect. I'm adjusting the entrance and exit guides to try to get that waveform perfect. I'll show you the scope. So there's the scope waveform right now. It's not perfect, but it's pretty darn close. Let's just try the exit guide a bit here. And the entrance side guide. Jeez. You know, I don't know if I'm going to get it any better than that. That's looking excellent. For, I mean, it's not perfect, but for a machine that it doesn't even have the right head drum in it. It's got the wrong head. It's got a 2-head instead of, if I put it in pause, I'm gonna get a crap picture, half snow, right? This is the 3-head machine. I stubbed the 2-head drum in because that's what I had handy. That's all I've got. I don't have one, and I'm not gonna get one. This thing's playing great. Take a look at the picture. I mean, I can't ask for any more, considering I had a pile of crap when I started, and now I got something that is actually working. Excellent. I like it. I'm going to try the PCM unit, and we can do a dub. We can do a recording. We can dub something in on this tape and see whether I can play it, because this tape's only got, I think it's only got mono. It might have stereo, but I don't think it's got, well, it might have PCM. I forget what I recorded this on. If I recorded this on my EVS 7000, there'll be PCM. So when I plug the PCM unit in, I should see, if it has PCM on it, I should see it, but it might not. It might only be, I forget what I recorded this on. But it's playing. As you can see, it's playing. And it's playing good. This is old tape. There's lots of dropouts on it. But I'm not complaining about that. That's for damn sure. I'm pretty happy right now for what I paid for this thing, which was not much. I paid 20 bucks for it. So I'm not out 20 bucks, that's for sure. I could turn around and sell this thing. I think the tape ended. Yeah, the tape just ended there. I could sell this thing and get 20 bucks for it. Well, I could get a lot more than 20 bucks for it. It's an 8mm playback machine. Someone's got 8mm tapes. This is going to play their tapes. So I could get a lot more than 20 bucks for it. But when I got it, it was worth nothing, and now it's functional, so I'm pretty happy. Gonna let the tape rewind. I guess I could put the I can put that stabilizer on top too. And just pop that stabilizer on top here. Let the head drum spin down. This is a tape stabilizer, or head drum stabilizer. I think that's what that is. There. All right, let me rewind the tape, and then I'll get the PCM unit hooked up. We can play around with that. So people have asked me before, why didn't Sony use the M loading system for beta? Why did they use the U loading system? The U loading system is actually a superior system to the M loading system. This looks to be a very complex tape path on here, but remember that 8mm is actually a 220 degree wrap, 210 or 220, because the tape starts here, the video track ends over there, but the tape continues over to here. Actually, the video track ends over here, 180 degrees, and then because here's where your tape goes in, right? 180 degrees is right across to here. And then there's this extra travel, which is the lower portion of the tape. On an 8mm tape, there's only 6mm that are actually 6mm of the tape width are used for video. The other 2mm is used for time code and for PCM, the optional PCM digital track. So the tape path on this looks very complex. If we watch it here, you'll see it pulls all the way out over on this side, right? But that's actually a very, very gentle tape path. There's not a lot of angles. The tape is not reversing directions much, except for maybe over here around the pinch roller, where it almost does a 180, but it's also doing it over the pinch roller. But this is actually quite gentle on the tape. The U loading system was quite gentle, but the beauty of the U loading system is that your tape guides that set the angle where the tape enters and exits the drum are fixed to the chassis. They don't move. On the M loading system, your tape guides move. Every time you load and unload, the tape guides move. And they'll never get to exactly the same position twice. There's always going to be a slight variance. Now, normally it's not an issue because the tracking, auto tracking on machines will take care of that these days. It's normally not an issue, but that was always the concern with the M loading system. Back in the early days, you have to remember that things improved over the, all the years that they made VHS machines from, the late 70s, 77, I think, or 76, right through to 2006. So actually, they made them longer than that, 2016. So there was like a 40-year run of VHS machines, and they did a lot of improvements over those years. But in the early years, mechanically, there was a lot of tolerances that were not applicable on the U loading system. Now, eventually, because it takes up a lot of real estate, this made for relatively large camcorders. So Sony adopted the M loading system on the camcorders because it made for a more compact chassis. But we never had the problems with guides falling out on this design. I have a camera that uses this design, a CCD, what is it? V110 uses this design. But I've always liked the M loading, or not the M, the U loading transport. It reminds me of 3/4 inch and Betamax, the early Betamax machines. Well, all the Betamax machines. But the early ones used a big loading ring like this, right? And the early ones went this way. The early machines, the 5000 series, the 8000 series, the 7000 series, so the 5000, 5010, 5020, 5200, 5600, 58, 54, 56, and 5800, they were top loaders. 70, 7200, 7600, 8200, they all used a system exactly like this, where the tape threaded around this way. When they went to the 711 chassis, they pulled the tape out the other way. It accomplishes the same thing, but made a little more compact chassis. I'm going to grab that PCM processor and we'll fire this thing up and see what it does. Alright, I've got the PCM processor plugged in. I have no idea if this tape has PCM on it or not. I guess we'll find out pretty quick when I start playing it, whether this thing lights up and starts playing the music through the stereo. And I will say it does not have PCM because I don't see any lights lighting up on here. But I do have the sound. Should go through the stereo, I think. Okay, so what I can do on this machine, I can dub. I can take some, let's grab some music. Let's grab some music from my MP3 player. We'll put some music in here and I should be able to hit the audio dub button on here and dub in sound. So there's PCM from line input and monitor play, PCM mixer standard. There we go, auto. Okay, so the PCM light will come on when there is PCM. Let me give it a source. We'll try doing a dub of some PCM on this existing tape, which doesn't have any. So we'll be able to select the original soundtrack or the dubbed audio once I'm done. I've got the machine set up to go. I will put the machine in play. I think I have to put it in pause and then hit the audio dub. Maybe I can just hit audio dub. I've got my music source punched in, so I hit play. I don't know if I can just do this on the fly, or I'll probably have to put it in pause. Oh, I probably also have to I got to turn off the safety tab on the back because I've got this set so that I don't record it. So let me just flick the little switch so I can record on this. Alright, we're going to put the machine in pause. I'm going to hit the audio dub button, start my recording. Let me get my clock counter here, 0. Okay, play, pause. I'll get a picture full of snow because I've only got a 2-head machine. Hit the audio dub and it says audio dub here. It's ready to go. I release the pause and then I'll start playing the music. So let's release the pause and then I'll hit the track. I'm going to play. And I will get, this is what it looks like on the screen while you're dubbing. It actually cuts the picture off because it's having to do an insert to the audio track. I'll let this dub in and then we'll rewind the tape and we should play it back and we should get digital sound. There it is. Got a vacuum fluorescent showing both channels. You're only seeing one of them here, but we're peaking at about -5 because, of course, on digital you can't exceed 0 or you're going to end up with nasty distortion. And I messed up. I was wondering why the picture didn't look like it was supposed to, and then I realized that when this machine goes into PCM dub mode, it's you have to have the speed set on the machine. It was set to LP, so it was dubbing in the LP speed, but the recording is in SP. So I had to go back and redo it. I was wondering, why does this say LP on the screen? And it looked like it was playing at the wrong speed. Well, it was playing at the wrong speed because the machine, you have to hit this one, because it's an external unit. The machine's not smart. When you put it in audio dub, it literally goes into record in the mode that the speed is set on the front of the machine, and it was set for LP recording. So I had to go back and redub because otherwise it won't play properly. Well, it played, but why is it sounding like it's playing at twice the normal speed? Well, because it was. It was playing it back at SP, but the PCM had been recorded at LP. Makes sense? So everything was playing back. The music's going twice as fast. The pitch is the same, right? But it's like it's double speed play. What the hell? And I looked at it and realized, well, wait a minute, I was recording it at the wrong speed. Silly me. I should have known better. If only I knew how to read French, it would have told me that in the manual. For those of you that can read French, I think it probably says something like here, like make sure your record is in the SP position. Does that make sense? I can't read French, but that's the French manual for the PCM. Anyway, it's got a good diagram though. Like, they can draw it better than I can. So here's kind of how it's laid out on the 8mm standard. So your tape width, you've got your video here is recorded on the top portion of the tape, and then there's this reserved area which is reserved for PCM, as I was explaining, with the wrap greater than 180 degrees. So here we got your video standard and your monaural audio, AFM audio, and then your PCM stereo or bilingual audio is recorded here. Anyway, that's that. We'll throw this manual away now because I never want to see a French manual again. When I bought this thing, the guy had the manuals. I didn't even notice they were French, or I would have left them on his doorstep. I said, "Hey, give me the French manuals. What the hell do you think I am, bilingual? What do you think? What do you am in Canada?" I just ticked off everybody in Quebec. No offense. Your language is wonderful. I just don't understand it. I did when I was in grade 8, but I promptly forgot it. Rewind the tape all the way back to there. Let's, fingers crossed, it's going to play. Ah, look. Turned out. The TV sound is going to have the natural sound because it's plugged into the output of this, not to the PCM. I can switch here. I can switch to the original sound, and I can switch back to the P. Oh, I think we just clogged ahead. Yeah, it cleared itself up. There's the original sound. We can mix the two of them together. And there's the PCM sound. Dropouts, creases in the tape. Tell you guys a little story while we're listening to this in the background. Many years ago, back in the 1990s, I guess, I went on a road trip with my V5000. I went to the Magic Kingdom. For those of you in the States, you know where I'm talking about. Went to Disneyland. I think it was the first time I ever went there, and I was like, I don't know, early 20s. Went to San Diego Zoo, all the touristy places. It was I forget what year it was. It was whatever year the V5000 came out, so early 90s. I guess I would have probably been late 20s at that point. Anyway, there was a cool radio station down in southern LA, and it was called The Wave, and they played New Age and what then became smooth jazz, but smooth jazz really wasn't that big back then. It was a lot of New Age, so there was smooth jazz. And I'd never heard anything like this on any of the local stations. There was a Seattle station that played it, but nothing like these guys. They played just some fantastic music, and there was long sets of music. And I remember sitting there in the car, and I'd been out filming all day, you know, with all the tourist stuff, you know, taking pictures of everything on these high 8 tapes with my V5000, which recorded in stereo and it also recorded in PCM. So then what I ended up doing was I was sitting in the car with an extension cord hanging out over the balcony from my Motel 6 or whatever I was staying in into the car so I could power up the camera. And I was sitting there in the car with the line outputs from the FM radio plugged into the camera, and I had headphones on so I could hear what was coming back out of the camera. And I sat there. I think my wife was ready to wring my neck. This is some creases in the tape that's going by now. That's why the sound's cutting out. Anyway, I sat there for hours just recording, just dubbing music off this radio station that I had found on the FM band. And I've still got the tapes, and I've actually transferred a lot of them over to my computer, the music that was on there. But I found this was the greatest station. I was sitting there in the car, and all of a sudden the police showed up. Knocking on the door, "What are you doing?" And I had, "Huh?" I said, "I'm recording from the radio on my camera." And I guess they saw the BC license plate. I said, "Seriously?" He said, "You guys got some chill stations down here, so we got nothing like this back home." I said, "I'm dubbing sound, I'm dubbing music on my vacation videos while I'm, just sitting in the car, just dubbing music." Did that all night. It's like, came back with half a dozen tapes, 2-hour-long tapes with music on the PCM track. I loved it. It was a great way to do it. I mean, it was only 32 kilohertz, but it got the job done. Anyway, as you guys can hear, this is working. Picture's looking good. It's playing back. It's playing back the dubbed sound. So I think we can call this one a success. Anyway, there it is. My $20 8mm player with the optional PCM adapter. Looking great. I figured I would just show you guys. This is what the waveform looks like when you're actually doing an active dub. So that's what's coming. That's what's coming off the preamp during a dubbing sessions. Weird looking waveform, right? Anyway, that's what we get while we're doing a dub. I'm scoped to pin 2 of the preamp on this machine here.
Anyway, that about does it. Thanks for watching. We'll catch you in the next one. Bye.